Hello, this is Matt Singer. I am the Arts and Culture Editor at Willamette Week, and my guest for Distant Voices today is Casey Holdahl. He is the Trailblazers beat reporter, and we are talking a little bit before the season starts. I don't know exactly when this will go online, but probably before the season starts. But Casey, I just want to ask before we start talking about the Blazers specifically. This is the NBA is entering its COVID season, which other sports leagues are already halfway through or have already completed. And it's obviously going to be a season, unlike the NBA has seen before. I'm wondering for somebody like you in your position, how much is your job going to be different this season than it has in the past?
Quite a bit. One thing that helps it a little bit is that having already covered the bubble remotely from Orlando, it's kind of a similar situation. So going into this season, there have been some changes, but in a lot of ways, covering the team, even when they're here in Portland right now, isn't really all that dissimilar from covering them when they were in Orlando, because everything is still mostly, over Zoom. And, that's how they're basically handling that part of the job, which, for someone like myself is a large part, is interviewing players. So that part is different, but not different than it was in Orlando. Obviously, though, I guess I should say obviously, because all 30 teams kind of have different rules about who can come in the building and who can't. For myself, I get tested every day, so I am able to actually go to the arena and work at the arena. And at a certain point in time, I will also travel with the team as well. So in that regard, it's not all that much different than it would have been in a standard season. But what is different is that instead of sitting on press row in the arena, I'm sitting by myself in a suite and covering the games that way live, but not as close as I used to.
Right. And there's quite a few new significant players on the team this year. Does that distance make it difficult to establish the rapport that you
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was actually thinking about that this week. We have a bunch of new, interesting guys that people are really excited about. You got Robert Covington and Derek Jones Jr. and Harry Giles in preseasons played great. And, I don't know those guys, I know everyone else on the team for the most part. So when I'm asking them a question over Zoom, they know me, they kind of know what I'm about. They know my affect. So they kind of can understand where I'm coming from and answer accordingly. For these new guys, though, it's like they don't just know me as some guy who's a face on a computer screen. And so kind of all of that kind of relationship building that you would do, even with new players, to where, you'd introduce yourself and, you just kind of give them a quick synopsis about what you do and who you work for. All that stuff basically doesn't happen now. And, it obviously has an effect on the way that guys kind of interact with you, and as it should.
So obviously, I'm a Lakers fan. I came up here from California 12 years ago now.
For sure.
But I mean, I am a Blazers. I root for the Blazers. They're my second team. But I was always like, when the fan base complains about like disrespect or whatever from the outside media, I kind of roll my eyes. I'm like, stop being the martyr.
And you
martyr.
Should.
Yeah. But I am starting to see more and more when I see like ESPN or whatever put like the Jazz as like a 4 or 5 seed, and somehow the Blazers still miss the playoffs this year after year. I do wonder why. I do wonder if the Blazers are, at least in the West, maybe one of the more, like, people just forget they exist.
I don't know why that is. And I think maybe part of it too is just because of the way that Blazer fans talk about themselves sometimes. And it's almost like media might look at that and be like, well, hey, if you guys want to wallow in your disrespect, then fine. Like, we'll put you as a team that finishes 9th then.
Right.
And not like there's like some, I mean, as well as I do, there's no like cabal of media that get together and decide, like how
Right.
we're going to pencil things out this season.
Yeah.
But just that idea that it's like, hey man, if that's what you guys want your brand to be, then fine. And I mean, just to let you know too, we went into last season, like that was something that even from the front office, they were like, look guys, like we're sick of this. We're the scrappy underdog mentality and we're here to punch above our weight. They're like, we're tired of that. Like, we're good. We went to the Western Conference Finals this year. So let's stop talking about ourselves like we're some collection of castaways that got put together who are a nice feel-good story. Like, let's carry ourselves with the confidence of who we are. And then granted, they played like shit last year. So then, it's always like, well, maybe we'll course correct a little bit.
So before I let you go, I have to ask. On the opening night of preseason, you tweeted that you were locked in a stairwell. What is the story there?
Yeah, so I mean, talking about how things are different now, covering games. I mean, that's a good situation. So what happened was, it's pregame. I'm in my suite, and I have Zone A access, which is the highest access you can get. The closest to the players is people who are getting tested every day. And there's also Zone B access, which has access to the suite and the concourse. Zone A has access to the suite and the event level. So it's the first time I've been back in the Moda Center since literally the Suns game back in March after they stopped the season. So it's been some time. So I'm there, and we have an elevator that we can take from the event level to the suite level. You also enter from the garage on the event level, but you can only have 2 people in the elevator at a time because of social distancing. So my first time there, I'm like, well, I should probably just figure out all the ways that I'm going to be able to get to and from where I need to go. So I'm like, well, there's a sign there that says red access, Zone A, take these stairs down to the event level, Zone A. So typically, people who work in arenas, someone like yourself who, covers events as well, typically, that like you should probably check the door before you walk through it, because a lot of times those things lock on you the way out. And that's anyone who covers sports too, particularly at the prep level, knows that like, hey, if I'm in this arena or this football stadium after 11 o'clock, I'm probably going to get locked in here. So, everyone generally knows like, hey, make sure just to check to make sure you have an out. But I figured that since they had already put in so much thought into how they were going to get people around and there's so many signs here saying this is the way I'm supposed to go, this must be the way I'm supposed to go. So I go from the suite level into the stairwell, get to the bottom of the stairwell, which is on the concourse level, and the door is locked. So I text my coworkers, hey guys, I'm stuck in the stairwell. Can someone please come out here and get me? No response. Go into our Slack channel. Hey guys, I'm stuck in the stairwell. Amara, Bruce, who are also in suites next to me, could one of you guys come out, pop open the door for me so I can get down there? No response. So I'm pounding on the door like crazy, but there's really no one in the arena because the number of people there is so limited that I figure like there might not be anyone that comes around. So after about 10 minutes of pounding on the door, a guy comes by and he's like, what's going on? I was like, oh, fantastic. Can you just let me out of the stairwell? I need to get down to the event level. He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So he opens up the door for me. And so you're on the concourse for a second, and then you walk around to another bank of stairs to get down to the event level. And I don't know why, but I didn't check it again this time either. So I go around, get into the next stairwell, and that one's locked as well. So at least this time I'm at the event level at this point. I send more text messages, more Slacks. No one responds, but I'm like, look, I know that Amara's on Twitter right now, so I guess I'm just going to go ahead and tweet to the team account that I'm stuck in a stairwell. Can someone please come and get me? And so finally, after 20 minutes of being stuck and pounding on the doors and no one hearing me, Amara finally came in and got me out of the stairwell. So, really an indication of like a building you usually show up to during regular times to work at, and there are thousands of people there. There's always people around. And to go from that to you're basically in a completely empty building, it's a bit dystopian, and some of the doors are still locked as well. It really kind of gives you a sense of just how different things are now than they were, 8 months ago, which I don't know that anyone really needs a whole lot of reminders.